Hello, and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for In Tow. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We're very pleased to be joined by the director of In Tow, Sharon Arteaga. Sharon's joining us from Austin, Texas today. Hello, Sharon, and welcome.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you as well, and we appreciate you bringing us this really interesting film. But before we get into the whole film itself, can you let our audience know what you are actually wearing? I think some of them can guess it, but I'll have you explain.
Yeah, so I'm wearing a minimal version of something that we wear in Texas called a homecoming mum. And basically it gets worn to high school football homecoming games, sometimes even middle school actually. But it's basically like a very ornate, it has like a mum flower here and then all these ribbons coming down, and they get really, really elaborate, and they are quite a pricey item. And so kind of the bigger the mum, the higher social status you have in high school. So yeah, they definitely are a very like flashy thing around homecoming night.
And the mum you're wearing is actually from the film. Is that correct?
I have the one from the film right here next to me. This is a little bit
Okay.
more of an accurate representation of one. Mine's a little bit more minimal because I wear it to our screenings, and usually they have a lot of jingle to them, but this is a theater friendly homecoming mum so that it doesn't jingle.
Oh, great, great. Let's get into this film. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came about making this film and why did you decide to tell the story?
Yeah, it's a couple of reasons. I was working on a short back in like 2014, and my producer at the time was one of the few people I knew who also lived in a mobile home growing up, and she was actually currently living in that mobile home. And she woke up one morning, she told me that she just heard a really loud sound, and then she went out to her door and saw an entire like moving crew about to take her house. And so when she told me that, I just started kind of thinking of my own experience growing up and how I would often feel like our house was just going to get taken away at any moment. Because, like, if you've ever been in a mobile home during a storm, like it just feels like it's about to get lifted up and taken away. So I just got to thinking, what would happen if you would wake up one morning and your house is literally being rolled away with you inside of it, when you have other goals for the day?
So, okay, so you make it seem like it's like commonplace, like, oh, okay, let's just tell a story about someone being evicted with their being inside the mobile home, but somewhat dangerous and so forth. But what were you trying to, I guess, bring about in this story to educate people, to entertain? Tell us about that.
Well, most of my films, I think they're all like a way for me to process or unpack unprocessed emotions from my upbringing. But I, through that like very personal experience and like very expensive form of therapy that filmmaking is for me, I'm able to also connect with people who have gone through similar things. So something within Toe is like I really wanted to show what the instability of just um, financial insecurity could feel like. Like it can feel like this just crazy ride, and through the pacing of the film we get a sense of that. It's like sometimes there's chaos and then sometimes there's quiet moments and then chaos and quiet moments, and within it all, like I wanted to show that even people who are struggling, like or who are in lower income levels, like we are normal people like everybody else who are just trying to figure out our relationships with our daughters or with our parents, and just trying to get through life, doing as best as you can, even though sometimes as best as you can still doesn't mean that you get to keep the things. And so a part of it also is just like I wanted to show how ridiculous it is that such a like basic human right can be so hard to hold on to these days, and how like unfair and ridiculous that could be.
Right. And I like the way you displayed it because it wasn't like you were trying to shame people or embarrass people, but you're just trying to just display, this is something that really goes on, and not to have pity, but just raise our awareness. I had no idea. I'm sure many people who've seen this film had no idea that this actually goes on. So tell us a little bit about the production process. How long did it take you to film this and edit it and so forth?
So we filmed for 7 days last February, which February in Texas is a roller coaster ride in itself, because the first couple of days it was like 82 degrees. Then we got a snowstorm on the third day. Everything froze over the next day. So it was just like, it was a crazy 7 days. After that, we were in post-production from like March through maybe March of this year. So I think it was a full year of post-production. We're all independent filmmakers, so we're juggling other jobs and life. And so sometimes our timelines can be a little more extended. With VFX being part of this film, it definitely was a longer post-production timeline for us.
Oh, oh, okay. Well, with that in mind, what about the reception of the film? What has some of the responses been when people have screened this film?
Well, we have only screened it twice to an audience in a public setting that I've actually been in. Oh, and I always put my films through a test screening, so I guess that's 3 times. But the first one, the film wasn't quite finished, and people were already having like a strong response, like, "Oh my gosh, how did y'all get this mobile home to like, how did y'all get your actors in a mobile home and move them somewhere?" And so people are just really curious about how we even accomplished some of the things we did. We recently had our world premiere of the final product, and we had, people are just really responding to this idea of like, even within unfortunate circumstances, there's joy, there's like, we can laugh, we can cry, there are just like a variety of emotions that can happen in that. At that same screening, my mom actually sat next to me in the audience, and all my films are very much a personal thing that has to do with our most of my films are inspired by her. And so I think just even her response alone was so emotional and rewarding at the same time, and kind of reminds me of like why I do what I do, because my mom's story could, or our lives could just be another untold story, and I get this privilege to put it on the screen and share it with so many people.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more in detail about the production process. Tell us, how did you come about getting the mobile home and the tow and the footage, and blocking off the roads? It's a lot you did. I mean,
It was a
tell us
lot.
the secrets behind that.
Yeah, gosh, I keep telling people this film, it has definitely been the most challenging film that I've made before. And my team could probably say the same. They all have so many films under their belt. But I think we were all like, yeah, this was a lot. We had to shut down a road, which was one of the processes I hadn't been through before. And like, I immediately learned about like, okay, this kind of road is a lot more expensive to shut down than like a county road, or quickly ended up realizing that we were going to only be able to afford like the smallest road, which only fit the mobile home, and didn't fit like our process cars on the side, which meant some of our shots that we wanted, we couldn't quite get there. So a lot of the movement of the mobile home was a dance between VFX and then special effects, which are more the like in-person practical effects, where we had someone puppeteering items in the house to shake them. He basically was holding a lot of strings in a back room, and then he was just like kind of home aloneing it. And then our cinematographer was doing shaky camera, and there were some shots where we actually did have to tow the mobile home, and we got help from our film commission to find a place that both had a property we could film on, and they had a semi truck that could pull the house. And that alone was a whole day of just like logistics and safety. And so yeah, it was quite a bit of elements all coming together to make this look real.
Now, the interiors, were the interiors done in that actual mobile home, or did you recreate an interior somewhere else?
No, we had access to two mobile homes. One was our like our stage, and then the other one was the stunt mobile home, because that one was easier for them to tow around. So we had to sometimes borrow like a window from one house to put on the other in post. And that had its own challenges because there were slight differences between the houses that were making like our perspective of things change. And but yeah, it was two separate homes we were using.
Okay. Now, Sheila, how did you find her, and Bonnie? How did you find them? Were they friends of yours, or how did you
um
find?
I go through a pretty extensive casting process for all my films, because I'm always looking for Latina talent, because that is my world. It can take a little bit longer to find exactly what I'm looking for. We are still Katie, who plays Sheila, she was in my last short film, which is on HBO Max, called When You Clean a Stranger's Home. I guess the channel is now called Max. And she was discovered by a local director named Lisette Barrera. And I've been seeing Katie in Lisette's films and really had been wanting to work with her for a while. And I'm so happy I got to work with her twice now. And Sandy, she's been acting for quite some time here in Texas and beyond. Actually, she's going to have like about a minute of screen time in the new Ben Affleck film, Hypnotic. And she's just, I mean, she's played alongside Al Pacino before. She's played alongside several people, but this was actually her first lead role. And so I was just so excited to be able to work with her.
Yeah, they did a really good job, both of them, just going along with your direction and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about what they added to it? Because you had a vision,
Mhm.
is there a specific scene in which they said, well, I think we should do it this way or that way? Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, as a director, I prefer the collaboration between us. So I really like to hear what ideas they have, and I'm always like, don't worry about sticking to the script. And even the mom character Sandy, she would ask me like, is that what you wanted, Sharon? I'm like, forget about what I want. Like, let's make sure that this just feels real. Sandy, I think something she was bringing to the table, which when you're making something so personal, it really helps the project. Although it's like a weird thing to say, was that she's only 2 years into having lost her own mom, and so she had so much just of those emotions that she brought to set. And she had several moments where it really was getting her to a place that she was just so hurt. And we actually put in one of those shots where she's on the ground by the cabinets when the dishes have fallen on her, and she was just completely immersed in a very emotional moment at the time. um, uh, I know Katie, like there was one scene that I kind of had my own little director shut down on set because I was just exhausted, and she basically had to carry that scene on her own. And I was like, I have no notes for you. You did an amazing job at what you just did. So yeah, 90% of directing really is casting. And they did an excellent job.
Right. And how much time did you spend with them before you actually started filming?
We did rehearsals over Zoom. I think we had like a 2 hour rehearsal. Before that, we had a table read to just get them like looking at the page and the story. But in person, we had one day of rehearsal. on set, like in the actual place, and a lot of the production design was still being put together. So yeah, I mean, I would have loved more rehearsal time because there were some scenes that we did not get to rehearse at all, and it just so happened that when we scheduled the film, the first day we shot all the scenes that hadn't been rehearsed, and I was like, Sharon, that's why you rehearse all the scenes, because I felt a little underprepared that day, and that's actually the day I had my director mental shutdown. So yeah.
See, so you know, 7 days, you shot a lot of footage. Is there any footage that did not make it into the final cut? If so, what was it?
Yeah, I think the one that I'm saddest about is this blue pickup truck. It's my dad's pickup truck. We borrowed it. You know, pickup trucks are a big thing in Texas, and I wanted this film to just be a very Texan look and feel. So I had my dad come to set, and he was with us probably 5 to 8 hours, driving his truck for these shots where like the truck pulls up and they're going to the same game that Sheila's going to. We ended up having his truck in there for like 3 to 5 seconds of the entire film. And I really missed the shot of, we had a shot where it was the entire truck, like we see the entire truck outside of the mobile home, or from Sheila's perspective, one of the two. But in all our test screenings, it kept disorienting people. Like they were like, oh wait, why is this truck moving in this direction if we're supposed to be moving in this direction? And even though I was like, no, I don't find that confusing, because enough people said it, I was just like, all right, we're losing the truck. And yeah, my dad's gonna be like, what? I'm in there 5 seconds for being there 5 hours. So
So that's the business.
yeah, yeah,
I'm sure at least you got. I didn't look carefully, but I'm sure he got a credit. So
yeah, I definitely did.
so you know, what do you? I know you said this film is just now beginning to screen. Are you planning to screen this at other festivals? Are you looking for some type of distribution? What's next for this film?
Yeah, we're at the very beginning of our festival life. So right now we're playing the waiting game with a lot of festivals, and just hoping to be able to get like a good festival life like throughout the country, just to be able to have, you know, make sure that we've played in the Pacific Northwest and in the West Coast, East Coast, in the Midwestern states. So yeah, right now we're waiting. And after the festival circuit, you know, a distribution deal would be great. Like I mentioned, my last short got on HBO Max, and that just like opened a whole other world. So I'm really hoping that we can have a distribution platform like that. But something we're also interested in is having like free community screenings where we reach our target audience, which doesn't typically go to film festivals, and just have like these free screenings with a lot of resources that are tied to our film, which is like mother-daughter conflict and financial insecurity and housing rights. So that's our goal for kind of the in-between phase of distribution and film festival life.
Oh, great. All the best with that.
Thank you.
And you know, while you're while you're putting this film on the festival circuit, you must be working on something else. Well, what can we expect to see from you in the near future?
Yeah, well, I am trying to take a little bit of a break, but at the same time, I'm moving into feature film work. I've asked my friends to try and make sure that I stop getting distracted by short films, because I love short films so much. But this In Tow is my fifth short film. So I really, the next step for me is I'm working on a feature that is a young girl who is taking care of her grandmother, who's in a wheelchair and has Alzheimer's and can't, she's visually, she's lost her vision. So she's taking care of her grandmother, but also a 5-year-old, a hyperactive 5-year-old, and they're just going to get ice cream. It's a very simple A to B story where they're on their way to get ice cream, but a lot happens on the way to get ice cream. And it's just this story about caretaking and about generational differences, navigating the world differently from each other. And I'm really excited to tell that one because it's based on my last adventure with my own grandma.
Hmm. Well, I wish you the best with that. If it's anything like Intel, I'm sure we're in for another treat again.
Thank you.
Sharon Arteaga, Director of Intel, thank you so much for joining us and I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you, Eric.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about upcoming film festivals, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.